Hey students, welcome back to your geography class. We were doing lithosphere in the last class. Let us continue with the chapter. We studied about the meaning and importance of lithosphere, and also we saw the earth's interior and composition, the crust, the mantle and the core. Today let us study about the rocks and know about the rocks. A rock. What do you mean by the word rock, children? A rock is any naturally occurring solid mass or aggregate of minerals or mineraloid matter. It is characterized by the minerals included, its chemical composition and the way in which it is formed. Rocks from the Earth's outer solid layer, the crust and most of its interior, except for the liquid outer core and pockets of magma in the asthenosphere. Children, rocks are usually grouped into three main groups: igneous rock, sedimentary rock and the metamorphic rocks. So in geology, a rock is naturally occurring solid aggregate of one or more minerals or mineraloids. For example, the common rock granite is a combination of quartz, feldspar, biotite minerals. The Earth's outer solid layer, the lithosphere, is made of rocks. Rocks have been used by mankind throughout the history. From the Stone Age, rocks have been used for tools. The minerals and metals we find in the rocks have been essential to human civilization. The scientific study of rocks is called petrology, which is the essential component of geology. The three major groups, what I told, it is being divided into igneous rock, sedimentary rock and metamorphic rocks. So when we tell meaning of geology, I use the word here geology, isn't it? I use the word geology here. What do we mean by the word geology? Geology is from the Greek word, children. Geo means earth, logy means science. So the word geology means geo means earth and logos means study. Means science. So it is the study. It is the earth science where we study about the earth. Now, let us move on to the igneous rock. Children, igneous rock when I tell, this igneous rock is derived from the Latin word igneous, which meaning of fire, from ignis meaning fire. It is formed through the cooling and solidification of magma or lava. This magma may be derived from the partial melts of pre-existing rocks in either a planet's mantle or crust. Typically, the melting of rocks is caused by one or more of three processes. First one is an increase in temperature, secondly a decrease in pressure, thirdly a change in composition. So, igneous rock are formed from the solidification. See, these are the igneous rock, children. Solidification means making it hard, and crystallization of molten rock. This makes the rocks hard, solid and compact. So, how are igneous rock formed? We have to, when we are studying about igneous rock, we have to know about it. What I explained to you now, it is found. How are igneous rocks formed? It is formed in the deep in the ground is molten rock, magma. This is the magma, children. Sometimes magma, what happens? It bursts out through the surface of the surface, causing the volcanic eruptions. Igneous rocks are formed when the magma cools. When it cools, then it becomes solidifies. When magma cools above the surface of the above the surface of the earth, we call that as extrusive igneous rock. These rocks are generally fine grained or glassy because lava after reaching the surface of the earth after reaching the surface of the earth, it cools and solidifies quickly. Example, we are having the basalt rock and the andesite rock. Now, what do we mean? We find here one more intrusive igneous rock. So, these when the molten materials, when the molten materials, that is the magma of the earth's interior, it will not come out of the earth's surface like this, how it has come out. It will be inside and it cools down. It will not reach the surface. They cool and solidify quite slowly below the surface of the earth here. So that we call it as intrusive igneous rocks. These rocks are made up of large crystals and are found at great depth inside the earth. We are having granite, diorite and gabbro, which are intrusive igneous rock. This is the rock cycle, children. The igneous rock, the sedimentary rock and the metamorphic rock. How it is formed? Igneous rock, it is formed by the weathering and erosion, the sediments. Then we are having the erosion and deposition. Then we are having the sedimentary rocks, where due to the heat and pressure it forms the metamorphic rocks. Then after melting it becomes magma, again cooling it becomes the igneous rock. So this is the rock cycle which happens. So the rock material in the liquid or molten state, we call that as a magma. And when it comes out of the earth, we call it as the lava. Now we will now what I told, the intrusive and the extrusive rocks, igneous rock. So intrusive, see here you can see after cooling, it be thousands of years the texture a small to medium grains, and here extrusive is cooling time seconds to the months and texture invisible and microscopic grains. Apart from that, we are also having the plutonic. This one cooling time millions of years and textures is large grains. This is intrusive, this is extrusive and this is plutonic. We are having these types of igneous rocks. Intrusive, as I explained, when magma is solidified or crystallized below the surface of the earth, we call this is the intrusive igneous rock, and this is the course of the granite crystals. Next we are having the intrusive. You can see in this picture features of the intrusive features. Parts of volcanic activity found inside the earth. You can see intrusive, when it comes, it cools down here, slow cooling, large crystals are here, and we also see when it comes out of the volcanic, this is the volcanic eruption what it takes place, and this is the medium cooling speed, medium crystal size where we can find. So this is the and here on the top what we find, we call it as the extrusive igneous rock. When it comes out, it is a parasite cone, you can see, and the ash and the lava coming out. This is the volcano opening. Plutons are the intrusive igneous rock of any size formed inside the earth. Now extrusive igneous rock. See, this is the magma chamber here. This is the intrusive igneous rock are formed from the magma after it cools slowly, and as a result the rocks are coarse and grained. See, this is the magma, this is the chamber where the volcano eruption takes place. See the ash. So the extrusive igneous rock cool quickly, and as a result these rocks are fine grained and has a lack of crystal growth. The examples for extrusive igneous rock, we are having the obsidian. It is if the cooling is instantaneous, a glossy texture may form. Then we are having the pumice. It's a gas, bubbles are trapped as the lava rapidly cools. A viscular texture may occur. Then we are having the basalt. It is a fine grained, dark colored, extrusive, igneous rock, children. Now we will move on to the sedimentary rocks. When we tell sedimentary rocks, the word sedimentary, children, it is derived from a Latin word sedimentum, means settling down or small pieces. Sedimentary rocks are formed by the agencies of water, wind and ice. See, these are the different types of sedimentary rocks. These agents break and erode the igneous rock, transport those broken fragments and deposit them at certain places. The deposit of these materials often occurs in the form of layers or strata. Therefore, sedimentary rocks are called as stratified rocks. Are called as stratified rocks. So you can see the sedimentary rocks deposited, as I explained, they are porous, pyramidal. There is lithification process of cementation, compactation and hardening of sediments into sedimentary rocks. These sedimentary rocks are also called as the secondary rocks because they are derived from the primary rocks. Which is the primary rock? Yeah, igneous rock is the primary rock, which contains the fossils as these get preserved between the strata. The stratification, you can see here. Stratum means bed, strata means series of beds. Stratification is defined as the deposition of sediments or fragments in the series of beds. You can see here. These are the series of beds, and these beds have different having different in mineralogy, class size, degree of sorting and color of the different layers. Thickness of this bed is called as lamination, children. Now we are also having, when we move, the sedimentary rock is divided into two. That is the organic sedimentary rock and organic sedimentary rock, and also it is called as the inorganic sedimentary rock. So the organic sedimentary rock are formed from the remains of the living beings. Coal is the example of this type. Then we are also having the inorganic chemical sedimentary rock. So the inorganic sedimentary rocks. So this rocks, children, these voids are tiny spheres are composed of concentratedly laminated calcium carbonate. It formed in the shallow marine waters and being as a tiny seed material, commonly shell fragments are constantly agitated by the currents, and as the seeds are rolled around the CaCO3 supersaturated warm waters, layers of CaCO3 are concentratedly predicted around the seed. So this is about the organic sedimentary rock and inorganic sedimentary rock, children. So inorganic sedimentary rock, again it is being divided into chemically formed sedimentary rock. So the rocks built up by the fragments of pre-existing rocks which have been produced by the process of weathering and erosion, the uh, sandstone, which is the arenicous rocks, and shelley. You can see these will be carried by the streams, winds, or glaciers to the site where they are deposits. Stream deposits sedimented in the flood plains or carry these particles to the oceans where they may be deposited in the delta. Then we are having the chemically formed sedimentary rocks. Chemical sediments are commonly formed by the process of evaporation of water containing salts in solution. Example, rock salt, gypsum. Rock salt, gypsum, we are having the limestone. In contrast to the deterrate rocks which form from the solid materials, and chemical sediments come from the ions that are carried in solutions or to lakes and seas. The material does not remain dissolved in water indefinitely. Some of the precipitation form the chemical sediments which later become the chemical sedimentary rock, such as limestone, chert, and the rock salt, where you can find in this picture, children. Precipitation of materials occurs in two ways: inorganic, like evaporation and chemical activity, and organic, that is biochemical life process from water dwelling organisms, children. Then we are having the organic formed sedimentary rocks. So the organic sediments are those derived from the accumulation of the remains of the organisms, like shells of marine organisms, remains of plants and animals. So the best example for this is limestone and the coal, which are the best examples for the organic sedimentary rock. So next we will move on to the igneous rock example special features: extrusive, inclusive. Again you will be having here, we are having the pumice, the obsidian, the basalt, intrusive granite, and gabbro. These are some of the examples. Now we will move on to the next rock, that is the metamorphic rocks. When we tell metamorphic rocks that was once one form of rock but has changed to another under the influence of heat, pressure, or fluids without passing through a liquid phase. For such rocks, we call it as metamorphic rocks. Examples of metamorphic rocks include the slate, sitate, gneiss, marble, quartzite and spiritine. All these are the examples of the metamorphic rocks. So metamorphic rocks, how are formed by the effects of the heat? You can see due to the magma or due to the effect of the heat and pressure on the existing rocks. See, pressure from surface of the rocks and heat from the magma. So here the metamorphic rocks are formed. This can affect the hardness, texture or the layer patterns of the rocks. See, these are the different types of igneous rock, sedimentary rock and metamorphic rocks. Now let us move on to the forces of the earth crust. The earth has two important forces that change the face of the earth, children. One is the internal force and another one is the external force. What do we mean by internal force? Internal forces. These internal forces means which originate inside the crust and influence the surface features of the earth. We call that as the internal forces. For example, the internal forces are also called as endogenic forces. Then what do we mean by external forces? What do we have to know about? We also have to know about the external forces. External forces are the natural forces that modify the surface of the earth. The important forces are temperature, wind, rainfall, rivers, snowfall, glacier. These forces act on the surface of the earth and constantly change in its feature. So, we are having here the earth movements. We are having the endogenic, this one, the endogenic is called as the internal forces and exogenic is called as the external forces. The endogenic, it is again divided into two. That is the diastrophism, that again it is being divided epirogenic, orogenic. Again in epirogenic we are having upward and downward, and in orogenic tension and compression. In sudden we are having the examples volcanoes and the earthquakes, where we will be studying. Exogenic, where it is of two types. One is the weathering and another is the erosion. When we tell weathering, it is physical, chemical and biological. When we move to erosion, children, it is ice, river water, sea, wind and underwater. So, how does endogenic process work? When the ground moves, children, the rock layers at the surface of the earth are broken, twisted and shaken. So, land is destroyed in many places and created in other places. When the land is shaped by the endogenic forces, then we call that as the endogenic process. Now we will move on to volcano. See, this is the volcano. This is the red color. What you can see, it is the lava which is coming out. Inside it is called as a magma. When it comes out, we call it as a lava. What is a volcano then? A volcano, we have to know the meaning. A volcano is a vent or a narrow opening in the earth crust that connects the pipe to an underlying magma chamber through which magma, rock fragment, lava, this is the ash, steam, flames and other gases are emitted from the interior of the earth. A passage in the earth, you can see this is the passage, this is the opening, children, of the earth's crust where the lava comes out, ash comes out and also the gases are ejected. So, a passage in the earth crust through which the magma and other volcano comes out. We call that as a vent. What do we call that? We call it ejected. We call that as a vent. The funnel shaped hollow at the top of the cone of a volcano, we call that as a crater. This is the lava which has come out this outside this one. So a funnel shaped hollow, it is called as a crater. A large basin shaped crater bounded by the steep side, we call that as the caldera. So here we can see here, children, volcanic gases mix with the atmosphere. We are having here the isosphere, lithosphere and atmosphere. Here this is the mantle where we are having, where the partial melting of mantle, the origin of the magma takes place. Here the magma rises and may stall and accumulate when reaching the crust under plating. Here the magma rises from the below storage region. Some crystals form and the magma can be stagnate. Here the volcanic eruptions of the tepera, rocks or gases, ash or lava flows. Volcanic gases mix with the atmosphere. So now we have to know how the volcanoes are formed. So volcanoes are formed when the magma within the earth's upper mantle works its way to the surface. At surface, it erupts to form a lava flows and ash deposits. Over time, the volcano continues to erupt till it will get bigger and bigger. Then what are the different stages of volcano? So we are having different types of volcano on the basis of periodicity or frequency of eruption. Volcanoes are divided into three stages. One is we are having the active volcanoes, dormant volcanoes and extinct volcanoes. When it were to tell active volcanoes, volcanoes which constantly eject the lava, gases and the ashes, we call that is known as the active volcanoes. There are about 600 active volcanoes in the world. For example, we are having Mount Etna and Mount Stromboli in Italy, St. Helens in USA, Mauna Loa in Hawaii Islands and Pinatubo in Philippines. Apart from that, we are having many other volcanoes. Then we are having the dormant volcanoes. When we move on to the dormant volcanoes, children, these are the dormant volcanoes are those which have erupted in the past and are likely to erupt. Erupted in the past and are likely to erupt again, but have remained inactive for fairly long periods. We are having Mount Vesuvius in Italy, Mount Fujiyama in Japan, Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania and Mount Krakatoa in Indonesia. Next we are having the extinct volcanoes. Extinct volcanoes are those which are active in the remote geological period. They are not likely to be active once again. We are having the Ngorongoro in Tanzania and Arthur's Seat in Scotland. Then why do volcanoes erupt? A question arises in our mind. The earth crust, children, is made up of huge slabs called plates, which fit together like a zigzag puzzle. So these plates sometimes move. The friction causes the earthquakes and volcanic eruptions near the edges of the plate. The theory that explains this process is called as plate tectonics. So sometimes the volcanic eruptions, what happens is eruptions are explosive and others are not. What we studied about the dormant volcanoes. So this is the cross section of the volcano, children, where this is the magna reserves. This is a sill. This we call it, this is the throat, this is the conduit or pipe, and this becomes the ashes. The lava, this is the flow, this is the crater, and this is the vent. Here is one vent, here is one end. This is called ash, and this is the parasitic cone what we are having, and these two are the lava. See, the ash cloud. What do we mean by magma? It is a molten rock under the surface of the earth. I told you the conduit. It is the passage. It is the passage in the volcano through which the magma travels. Throat. The conduit's part that ejects the lava on the volcanic ashes. What do we mean by ash? Small parts of lava or rocks which are shot in the air explosion. Summit, highest point. Then sill, a flat piece of rock which forms the hardening of magma in a crack in a volcano. Crater, it is the mouth of the volcano and surrounds the vent. Lava, molten rocks which erupts from a volcano, you can see here. Then we are having a vent, the opening in the volcano from the lava which comes out. Ash cloud, a cloud of ash formed by the volcanic explosion. We are having H2O, that is water, carbon dioxide, SO2. So these are what I told you, the active volcanoes, what it is called. Then we are having the dormant volcanoes which are there, we can see it. Then we are having like what causes the volcanoes to go to an extent. Simply put, they cut off from the supply of lava. This is a chamber of magma underneath the surface of the earth, finds its way on the surface through weakness in the crust. So a good example of this is the hotspot created by the chain of Hawaiian Islands. The tectonic plate carrying the islands is slowly moving. So these are some of the where volcanoes go to an extent. In the next class, children, extent, and we are also having the volcanic materials. The materials ejecting out from the volcanoes are of three types: solid, liquid and gas. Solid is the volcanic bombs, cinders, scoria, pumice, dust, ash. When we tell liquid, it is a lava, gases, sulfur, hydrogen and carbon dioxide. Then when we move on to the distribution of volcanoes. When we move on to the distribution of volcanoes, volcanoes occur in many regions of the world, including the islands, young mountain ranges and plateaus of the continents. Most important regions are the Circum-Pacific Belt or Pacific Ring of Fire, where we find this in the coastal margins of the Pacific Ocean, consisting of Philippines, Japan, USA, Central America and South America. Then we are having the Mid-Atlantic Belt. We are having Iceland, West Indies. Then we are having thirdly the mid-continental belt, where it is Italy, Spain, France, Greece, Turkey. The important islands are Hawaii and Indonesia. So children, in the next, with this we finish up with the volcanoes. In the next class we will move on to the earthquakes. Thank you children.